Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our Sunday show. We are looking at the Sunset Six, one of the wagers I'm most intrigued by these days in this era when game selection, as we were just talking about off air, is more important than ever. This is a pool I'm comfortable feeling like I'm on a level playing field with. It requires some bankroll, dollar minimum 6 legs. It ain't cheap, but hey, it's a bet where you can potentially band together with other players or just try to make a surgical strike. And what I love about it also is that it connects races that are going to be in the late double and late pick 3 at Santa Anita on this Sunday card. Other pools I feel pretty comfortable in relative to the larger landscape, let's say, at this point. Sunset Six, everyday Gulfstream and Santa Anita are running. Last 3 at Gulf, last 3 at Santa Anita. And today we have a very special guest for you, a man whose appearances are always popular. And we're going to tell you how you can get more, much more from him. Our guest today, Duke Matties. Duke, what's shaking?
Hey, Pete, everything's good. Warm out here in California these days.
Oh, I'm envious. Oh, man. It was so cold in New York this morning.
That's like 80. It's like 80 degrees here. Sorry for you guys in New York.
All right, don't rub it in.
Well, I was just in Colorado, so it was 20 there. So,
but was there good powder? That's the question for the ski.
No, not really, but it was good. Good skiing.
You made it work. Work. Have you ever, and I'm pretty sure the answer to this question is going to be yes. Have you made a wager while skiing? Like
yes.
Presumably not whilst going down the hill, but maybe up in the chairlift. Like how do you balance your skiing habit with horse racing?
I have made wagers while skiing, yes, and I have watched races on skis. That's so yes. I wouldn't recommend it, but yes, I've done both, and I always take a few breaks and go into the lodge and see what's going on. So
very good. Let's talk about Duke's picks. Let's talk about the new website, dukespicks.com. You're off to an amazing start. I followed along with you opening weekend at Santa Anita. The content was great. Not only were you giving out picks, you were talking about your thought process. You were answering questions. It was a graduate level course for a horse player, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You've got another live stream, which I'm very grateful to be a part of, actually, happening on Thursday. But Duke's Picks is more than the occasional live stream. You've got a ton of great content and picks for horse players. Give people the overview of what it's all about and how they can get involved.
Yeah, dukespicks.com. There's a couple levels of things you can do. I have a featured track now, which is Santa Anita for this month. So if you don't want to spend the money for the full experience, at least you get the one track, and that's my home track, so it's worth doing for the people. We do a lot on there. I mean, I give my insight into each race, whether I'm going to play it, whether I like it, whether it's too tough, we should pass it. That's kind of what we're into is we're trying to find the right races to play, maybe the right tickets. I don't necessarily give out tickets. That's not kind of my thing, but I give out ideas of what races are better than others and let the people go from there a little bit with their wagers. I also do things like if I see a bias or I see something, some trends, trainers that are hot, all kinds of information that people probably just overlook, on a regular day basis that, I'm following, so they don't have to do that on their own. We've had tremendous success. I mean, it's amazing how many horses that I've had in a short period of time that I've won. I had a 15-1 shot win yesterday, a Doug O'Neill horse that, I mean, I can't do much better than that. So, I mean, but I watch all the workouts so people don't have to, they don't necessarily have to go watch them themselves, if they trust my opinion on the works. And, it's an interaction with me. You can send me a message if you think, if you like something, then you want my opinion on it, you can do that. I mean, so there's a lot of things we do on here that other people aren't doing, and I think it's worthwhile if you're a horse player.
What I like about it is that it kind of meets you where you are, wherever you are. Make no mistake, there are picks. If you're somebody who's catching this on YouTube and hasn't heard it and was Googling, or wouldn't be Googling, you'd be YouTube searching for information about racing and looking for racing picks, you'll find those, including, as Duke pointed out, many at terrific prices. But if you're more of our in the money hardcore audience and you want to do the work, you don't necessarily need to be given the answers, just the access to Duke's brain, his thought process. And if you're a general horse player, you're looking at a lot of different tracks. I mean, Duke's doing the work, so you don't have to when it comes to the tracks that he is featured and focused on. And good news, we do have a promo code for you, ITM in the money 10. ITM 10, a promo code that'll get you started, get you discount. I know we sent a handful of people over from the first show we did, and we're hoping to get even more. I'd love to see a big crossover between our In the Money audience and the fantastic work that Duke is doing over there. In terms of this live stream for Pegasus, how do you see it going down? Is it going to be entirely focused on the Pegasus Day card? This is going to be Thursday night. I think we said about 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Is it going to be, what's it going to be focused on?
Yeah, it'll be on the Pegasus card. We're going to do the whole thing. You're going to host it, which I'm very appreciative that you're going to host that for me. So
you
awesome.
Actually did an awesome job just talking for an hour. I can talk. I do not want to talk for an hour without somebody to at least let me take a breath. So I think I can, I'll be very much of a background role compared to what I do on the In the Money stuff. But I think I think you'll enjoy that ability to get organized rather than filibustering.
Yeah, thanks for that. It wasn't the first one I did. I was, after doing an hour and like 15 minutes, I was like, wow, that's a lot of talking. But the second one was a little easier, but I realized that I think it could be better as long as I got somebody good like you hosting, and it'll give me a couple of little breaks, because that's what I took a break in the last live stream, like a minute, and I thought that was a good idea, and I took some questions in the middle. I think that's always good. The question and answer, I think, is really, really good. And that's what we do. That's kind of, I want the questions. I want the people to ask me things that, hopefully I can answer.
It's so hard getting the right kind of experience, I think, when you're starting out as a horse player, right? And I think that's feedback we've gotten on our podcast network is people have said, oh, this is great. I've got some people I like at the simulcast center that I go to or whatever, but it's not necessarily people I'm going to learn from. When I can hear people having an elevated discussion about horse racing week in, week out, I think it's some of the reason a lot of people subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our podcast. But we're talking about next level now, the ability to have direct access to the brain of a guy who's been grinding in these pools for whatever it is, 20, 30 years at this point. It's you can't put a price tag on it. Whatever you're paying, you're getting great value just because of Duke's experience. I mean, it speaks for itself. When you can do this for a living, people will sometimes say to Jonathan or to me, they'll describe us as that we do this professionally. And it's like, well, no, we talk about racing professionally, but to really be a professional, to be a Duke, to be a Paul Matisse, to be a Sean Borman, to be people out there who have made their living doing just this, that's next level. And the more you can hear them talk, the smarter you will be. Check it out. DukesPicks.com. ITM10 is that promo code. Anything else to discuss? Anything on your mind before we dive into this Sunset 6 on Sunday?
Yeah, let's go. Let's get into it. It sounds good.
All right. Race number 8 is where we kick off, 3:50 Eastern, the scheduled post time. You can have the game on. Just hit mute, and you'll get you put the racing on another screen as we get into this. And we start off with an optional claimer going a mile on the turf at Gulfstream. Give me your general thoughts on this race as we kick off the Sunset 6.
I hope this race stays together. This is a really, really good field of allowance fillies and mares that has a lot of speed in it too, which that worries me a little bit if there are scratches in here, because horses like Makanga and Spinning Colors and Stormcast, they almost all seem to need the lead. So if they all run, I mean, this race sets up perfectly for the 2 Expensive Queen who ran, fourth in the Gamely, at Santa Anita and is laid off. And Brendan Walsh, he gets these horses ready. So he reaches for Louis Saez, who rode the horse the first time. So, I mean, if this race stays as is with 11, is there 11 horses, I think, she's going to be tough to beat. And not only that, I think the Chad Brown horse, Mally Moo, the 4, should get a really, really good trip to it, sitting just in behind, I would say, 2 or 3 of those speeds. That horse might get the pocket trip, with Gaffleon. So those were the 2 I landed on in here. I just think if there are scratches and like, let's say, one of these like Spinning Colors is the only speed left in there, or even if Stormcast is what, left in there by herself, if the other 2 scratch, I think you might have to use them if they look like they can get loose. But otherwise, I think it's A play would be Expensive Queen and B play would be Mally Moo. So
I have it exactly the same. I always love it when I come up with the same horses as you when we do one of these shows, Duke. I feel like I've gotten the right answers on a test, and I
yeah,
think you hit the key angles. I mean, Expensive Queen for me, I really always intrigued when they're dropping out of a grade 1. I think sometimes the market can underrate what a big class drop it is coming out of a grade 1 into any non-claiming race. And yeah, I mean, Mally Moo is one that I'm hoping Gaffleon gives the right type of hold up ride. She's managed to not win some races that I thought maybe
yeah.
she could have done better in, but I just think she could trip out here with a fast pace in front of her, with Gaffleon now having ridden her once before with the right type of ride. We're in lockstep to kick things off, and weather-wise, we should be good for the field holding together. We'll keep our fingers crossed, but I mean, that's a great point you make, Duke, that I screw up a lot still, which is not taking enough time to go back and look at the races after scratches,
Yes.
specifically in terms of that pace situation. That's, I mean, is it as simple as guard time and make sure you go back and relook, or what advice do you have for horse players about making sure they pay attention not to the race that was drawn, but to the one that's actually going to go on the day?
Oh yeah, super important. I mean, you see if like this kind of race, this particular race. I mean, you obviously see Spinning Color, Stormcast, and Makonga. There, I mean, they have ones on their form, so
Yes.
they got ones all the way across. So I mean, in that case, if 2 of those are gone, 2 out of the 3 are out, and there's 1 left, we got somebody that's probably going to be, out there by themselves. But with 3 of them, I mean, I can't see a scenario where one of them gets loose, but it does happen at times. The only other horse I'd mention in this race, by the way, is Vixen. She's 2 for 2 at Gulfstream, but I just don't think from an outside post I would use her. But I mean, that would be my third choice if I had to throw one in, one other one in there. But yeah, I think people got to pay attention to the scratches. I think it's the first thing I do when I open, the forum for the day, like when I'm ready to make my first wagers, I put all the scratches in for the whole day. Yeah, it's the first thing I do. So I mean, I think everybody should do that.
And then take that extra time and look, like, what is
Right.
it? It's one thing to write it down by rote. It's another to think, what does this mean? Am I right? If, let's say, one of those 3 scratches, even if there's just 2 of them, I feel like it's exponentially goes up that you'll see a wire winner when you get down to the 2 need the lead types. In that instance, I'd want to have some backup line if
Yeah,
there's 2 speeds on whichever one I think is better. Is that the right idea?
I think so. I mean, you do see in this day and age where one guy will sit, and unfortunately he'll sit off because he thinks the horse can rate, and usually
Yes.
99 out of 100 it doesn't work.
Right.
But in this case, I think there is even other speed. I could see Tour Jeté being close, and I don't think Malibu will be too far behind. So I think there will be pace in this race. I mean, and I just think Expensive Queen might be just too good for him.
Another race that I think, even though it's just a 7-horse field, looks like it has some pace, is this Dirt Allowance that goes as race number 9 at 4:20 Eastern. I was pretty uncreative in here, Duke. I thought that American Pearl, having shown the ability to pass horses on debut, and
Yep.
with what it looks like a bunch of need the lead types in here, that's a skill that might come in handy. That's the way that I was leaning. Anything more creative than American Pearl in race number 9?
My only other idea is the Safi Joseph claim, the two, her
Mm-hmm.
town. Um, he just seems to do good things, down here at Gulfstream with these horses, these high priced claims that he makes and throws them in allowance. They just seem to move forward, and I just think that horse is probably the only other one that can beat American Pearl. I think 7 furlongs hits American Pearl right between the eyes. Like you said, closed at 6, went to the lead at a mile. Now she's going to sit just off the pace going 7. Johnny V loves that stock,
It's a good trip for him.
stock and pounds. It
Yeah.
just looks too good, right? I mean,
Yeah.
she's got the figures, speed figures wise, she's got the highest figures. So pace scenario wise, there should be pace. Again, A play American Pearl, B play Her Town. I'm pretty similar to that first, that's I think it's pretty much that simple.
Let me ask you this about Safi Joseph, because I've made this observation on a lot of shows, and I want to see if you have noticed it and or agree with it or think I'm out to lunch. When these Safi horses in Florida take a lot of money, rather than take the idea that they're over bet and I want nothing to do with them, I think they're more live. It feels like the market is somehow very, very in tune with him, and I get very fearful of a Safi horse that's bet more than I think it should be, if that makes any sense.
Totally agree. If this horse shows up at 6, 7 to 1, I probably don't want her. You know what I mean?
Right.
If she's 3, 4 to 1, I think that's where she's got to be around the 3 to 1, 4 to 1 range. I think to be like what you would call live. But I
Yes.
like her in here. I mean, I think he's going to move the horse forward, and the races are pretty good. So again, I think you're right dead on. I think the money does show when he's more live. He's got another horse in the race, Cooey, that should guarantee pace in the race too. So Cooey's not bad, but I just think I'm more interested in the two Her Town than Cooey.
Let's move on to the nightcap at Gulfstream. 3-year-old fillies going 1.116 on the turf. Duke, will keep it with you.
So I watched the tape this morning, about 6:30 this morning. I watched the tape of the race December 7th, the 11th race that Temeraire is coming out of, and who's the other horse?
Spicy Princess.
Spicy Princess, and was there one other one?
Yeah, it was the Walsh. Was one of the Walsh runners in there too?
Yeah, I think one of the Munnings Talks. Yeah, those were the 3. And I thought the race was interesting. It was kind of like one of these races that was just no pace, and they all kind of came together at the end. But usually in those races, the one that's going the best at the end is the one I kind of want, and that was Temeraire. Temeraire was inside in the first turn, but then abandoned, went like to the 5-6 paths on the backstretch, and kind of at Gulfstream, when you get caught wide in that second turn, they just kind of flounder a little bit, and that's exactly what she did. She kind of was a little bit hesitant, and right about at the 16th, she started taking off, and really was closing well at the wire, pretty wide, like 4 or 5 wide, and Spicy Princess kind of angled in and saved some ground. Didn't run bad, but I thought Temeraire was going better. So out of that race, I'm using Temeraire as my top choice out of that race. But I mean, this race goes through the 6 Celebrity Warrior, who comes out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. If you remember, Luis Saez had one of the worst weekends of all time on Breeders' Cup weekend. I don't believe he won any races, and I don't know. I'm not sure he had a second, but he was riding weirdly that weekend, and he chased the pace in the a pretty good pace too in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So she's obviously the horse to beat. She's also going to be probably in the even money range. She could be a single, but I think I got to use Temeraire based off that last, and they're probably the only 2 I'm going to use in there.
What about the Walsh second-time starters? I mean, we have the same 2 numbers on top, but I wanted to give maybe Munnings Talks a little bit more of a look. I agree, didn't probably run as well as either of those others in the common race, but I just thought as a Walsh second-time starter might have that scope for improvement, and that angle applies to Forgot About You too. I don't love either, but in terms of deeper backups, that could be a price. You buying what I'm selling there?
Yeah, she had a bad post, but she's got another pretty bad. She did the
Right,
9
9
hole.
and 10 for those two, right?
She had I think she had the 10. She was the number 12 in that race. She didn't really get a good trip, but she didn't do much running. So
Yeah.
maybe it was the experience will, maybe the Lasix. I don't know. It could be something that Lasix on, but she's definitely a factor, I think. I think a horse that you could throw in. I mean, there's a lot of those though in here, so that's the problem. I mean, the 12 Tender Temper, she didn't run bad her first start again, but she had a 12 post first time. Now she's got the 12 post again. So what very unlucky draw for her. So the problem with these kind of races is I can't spread when I like the favorite.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm going to play a pick six, but Celebrity Warriors probably might be the best single in the sequence, but I don't like singling favorites. So you run into these problems with tickets. What you try to do in this case is throw those others in and narrow down the other legs, on one ticket where you play like maybe a $48 ticket where you got narrowed down and you throw these long shots in there, or something like that.
Yeah, it's a great point. You can, in another pool, like late pick 3 at golf or something, you can mess around where you
Yeah.
still run half your money through Celebrity Warrior. But
Yeah.
in a 6-leg bet with $1 minimum, yeah, it's hard to bet it efficiently in that regard. But I just wanted to mention those as ones to put on the radar. Walsh having a good Gulfstream meet. I mean, these may be ones that don't peak for a couple of months yet. I'm not fully aware of how he's been campaigning these types of horses, but they just look like ones that might be able in some world to jump up. And if they can be had on side, I'd love to keep on side. Shall we we'll take our dinner break and we'll head out to Santa. Do you have anything else at golf before we do?
Not really. I mean, these are weird races for pick sixes. What we talk about, what to do with tickets. This is a tough one, because it's going to cost you a lot. You could use lots of horses in here. I mean, I don't like the Chad Brown horse at all. Like the Alibi, I thought the horse was terrible in New York. Made no run from a good trip, But again, that horse could improve. These are young, 3-year-old fillies that can improve very quickly for these good barns like Walsh, Walden, Chad Brown. I mean, Pletcher. There's just so many, and even there's a George Weaver switch in there that I have to mention. I thought that was a good trainer change. So, I mean, again, I'm not telling people that the 6 is a lock or anything like that, but on a pick 6, how do you do it? Where do you go if you don't narrow? That's what we have to do. We'd have to narrow it down.
We will, and I imagine on your shows and in your comments on the site, you can get into the nitty gritty a little bit of construction and how you might do that. I mean, one thing that lines up all right. I mean, to be so skinny in those first 2 at Gulfstream does give some opportunity to maybe still be able to bet it efficiently and have it extra times with Celebrity Warrior. But it's all going to depend on what happens at Santa. And in our shows, we go through the races and we don't get into it on that granular of a level. But on Duke's Picks, it gives you an opportunity to have those kind of conversations, on the regular, which is another benefit to becoming a member. All right, let's head to Santa Anita and see what we think of these races. We'll start off with this optional claiming 50 with a first level allowance condition. 6:30 Eastern will be the post time for this one. We're going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. Who did you like in here, Duke?
Now this race is pretty wide open. I mean, Dicey Mochara is making a pretty big drop in class. She's been in stakes her whole life, but I didn't like that she didn't win the 1X at Del Mar 2 back.
Yeah,
that kind of worried me that if she couldn't handle that, I'm not sure she can handle these either. She will definitely take some money. I kind of landed on the 3 as my top choice. Centro Delantero. Not sure what that means in Spanish, but this horse was acquired by Jeff Mullins, and we all know when Jeff Mullins gets a horse, they move forward almost every single time. This horse improved many lengths in his last start. I just see horses like this. He's got him geared up probably for this spot. Like he's Jeff is the kind of guy that gets him ready for one, one race, and they seem to just run their best. Um, Others, I think you might have to use in here though. The two one of these days. If you look at his record, his whole record is pretty much at Santa Anita. He's got 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds on at Santa Anita. And if you look at the Del Mar races and you toss those off this form, he's got pretty good form.
Comes into focus, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did with him. I just kind of crossed out the Del Mar races, and even though they weren't horrible, I think the Santa Anita races are better. So, and I really liked the way he ran on October 12th. So he's a definite use. The 5 time song looks like the speed of the race. I always like, if a horse can get loose on the lead at Santa Anita on the grass, this horse had a lot of trouble in his last race. I think they're going to go forward. Mike Smith is a pretty good guy to get one to go wire to wire, going 1.125 miles. That's kind of where I landed. There are others in here that have chances, though. City Exile with Rispoli definitely has the speed figures in the class to win here, but 0 for 7 last year, kind of getting older, and you can't use them all, right? So I kind of landed on 3 is my top choice, 2 and 5 is my other 2. So hopefully we can get it done with 3.
I do like the idea of throwing in City Exile if I can afford it. That was one of the ones I had, just, pretty basic angles. I thought it was facing easier and just looked like one pattern-wise that might be ready off the layoff. And I was going to mention that last time you were on here, you talked about the Mullins improvement angle, and it immediately led to several winners. I got a bunch of notes from viewers and listeners about that one. Centro Delantero, which I think is front and center in Espanol, for the work for that one last time. And I mean, if this horse runs that race again, I think he just wins. So definitely wanted 3s, definitely wanted 6s. I get where you are with the 2 and the 5 as well. Let's move to the 8th race at Santa Anita. This one, obviously, the 7th will kick off that late pick 3 with the decreased takeout and escalated minimums, both things that help the average horse player in a CAW world. This one kicks off the late double with the same financial terms. Bread and butter stuff here. $8,000 claimers. I'm very uncreative. Contrary Chieftain, I thought just looked very tough. Back in at the level. Figure horse. My lone concern was maybe not breaking as well, and sometimes that can be an indicator that things are going to go the wrong way. So I don't hate the idea of having backups, but the figure monkey in me kind of wanted to just pick the 2 and move on. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I that's the way I started, and then I said, no, I can't do it. I started out thinking, well, okay, it went back to the Barocio barn. He didn't run bad. He ran a little bit too high a level, ran for 16. Now he's in for 8. He's in the right spot. Yeah, he's going to be favored. Then I started looking. I said, nah, I'm going to try to reach out for somebody else. So I look to the 1, Autism Puzzle. Changed trainers, 2 back to Vallejo, who isn't really doing that great, but ran for 20,000 last time at Los Al, going a route. First time going to 2 turns. And really did not get a good trip at all. I mean, got really shuffled back and didn't run that badly. I know he was 40-1. He's probably going to be in the 10-1 range here, probably, or somewhere in that range. I just think, if you got enough money, if you threw him in and you got lucky and he won, that it changes everything. If you single Contrary Chieftain and you single the horse in the last at Gulfstream, you're kind of in trouble because now you got 2 favorites. So I had to go with this Autism horse, Autism Puzzle, and he gets DeMuro, which is an interesting choice for a rider. I'm surprised he would ride a horse like that, but that kind of interests me a little, even though I'm not his biggest fan. But for him to take that call, I think is kind of interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder if that just indicates to the world that, hey, he's looking to grind and ride any kind of race in this mode while out there. So would you play it 1-2? Would you throw in anything else? Would you try to fade the 2 and get really cute? How would you do it?
No, I mean, I don't think you can do that here. I mean, that would be, I think you don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose if Country Chieftain wins because he's
Too obvious.
he's too obvious. But on the other hand, you can't throw him out. I mean, I just
Yes.
don't like the rest. I don't like the rest of them.
Right.
You look at Northern Quest, you look at Mother's Prayer. They've been in for 5. That was a bad field. Union Wave since he left the Barochio barn has gone. I mean, completely off form. Alpine Thunder's 0 for 13 at Santa Anita, never got a first or a second. And Smarty Nose, I think, is a race filler. I mean, I can't imagine he could get a mile.
Right.
Uh, I mean, I just can't see it happening. But so that's how I landed on the 1.
I get it. There's some process of elimination, and the horses. I mean, those are better races, right? I mean, this is a significant class drop. We see horses wake up all the time off of similar. You got a jockey who, like you said, if he's bothering to ride in the race, he's trying hard. He's not just. It's not like this is his game, right? To ride in a
No.
spot like this where he might phone it in. You got to figure he's trying to prove something to himself and to the community at large. We'll see how it goes. 2 and maybe a little bit the 1 there in Santa Anita's 8th. We close things out going back to the turf. Maiden Claimers going a mile and an 1/8. And we'll ask you the key question, Duke, when it comes to this Sunset 6 on Sunday. How are we going to get paid?
How are we going to get paid? So again, I watched the replay of the November 23rd 9th race at Del Mar. I watched it again. I obviously watched it before, but I wanted to watch it again before I did this. And Wanika's the obvious, right?
Yeah.
Wanika was closing fast into that race. There was a good pace in front of her, but she was gaining pretty good. And again, it's the Mullins barn. the major improvement, and you figure again he's got this one ready for the spot.
Yeah.
But is I watched the replay and I kind of liked the way Angelica Bay ran. I thought Kyle Frey got the horse shuffled too far back, got in a little trouble at about the 8th pole and had to wait and angle out. And if you've noticed what's going on at Santa Anita lately, Doug O'Neill's probably the hottest trainer at Santa Anita. He's probably won 10 races in a week. And if you've noticed, he's using Jaramillo on pretty much everything, which Doug likes to do. He likes to get these new riders and use them, pretty much religiously. So I just thought, Angelica Bay has to be on the ticket. I mean, you have to include Wanika too. And then the only other one that I might include if I could afford it is the 10 Global Consort. Did get a good trip last time, but I think if you wanted one more, that would be the one. I mean, Capestro doesn't win too often, and a 10 post is kind of tough. So I might just go with 6 and 8. Ghostis, the 4. I don't like the fact that he's going to go a mile and an 1/8 off a 10-month layoff. That worries me, even though I think the horse is good enough. Weird rider choice too. Why Jeremy Laprida? I don't know if I ever see Yacht Team use Laprida. That's kind of a weird one. So I think I'm just going to die with 6 and 8 in there.
I get it. I mean, if you're right about the 10, you're going to get a big price, but probably more of an underneath.
Yeah.
What about the 7 Musical Song? I was thinking On the Drop could be the best speed. I had Wanika on top. I definitely get your case. You're making an excellent case on Angelica Bay, but I would want some 7s in the mix there, I think. Did you have a particular knock on her?
Not really. That trainer doesn't win too often, but loose speed does good at Santa Anita. So if horses like Ghost to sit and that horse gets an easy lead, that's always the factor that you have to, when you look at any of these races, you got to figure out who the speed is, right? I mean, anytime you got to look at speed. Now, can that horse get a mile and an 1/8? It ran once, I'm going a mile and an 1/8. Got a pretty easy lead that day and didn't get it done, but that was, maybe at a slightly higher, maybe just a touch higher level. The 62.5 may be very similar to the 50, but it's a slight higher level. So again, I wouldn't talk you off them. That's for sure. You know what I mean? So
yes, I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes it's like what we're comfortable with, what we come up with. But yeah, I do think I think those are the interesting horses for sure. And yeah, I mean, this is an approachable. It's a tough sequence because it could chalk out, but
Yeah.
it's you might just be able to manage to spread in those two legs if we can skinny it up enough. I'm going to take a little swing anyway in this Sunset Six. I'm really looking forward to joining you again next week. Thursday is a live stream, but don't wait to join, because how many days in terms of your subscriptions, like, is it every racing day you're putting stuff up at Santa Anita? What cadence have you committed to for the people? When should they, if they're going to sign up, when should they sign up?
Well, every day that Santa Anita runs, yes, there's information, whether it be just me talking about each race. I write a little thing about um, the horses that I'm interested in, so you get a little synopsis of what I think of, how I thought of why they're going to be competitive in this race. That's basically what I do. I don't necessarily do every race at Santa Anita, but I do the card. That's for the featured track portion. If you're doing the VIP, you get all anything I'm looking at that I think is interesting to put up. So it could be Aqueduct, could be Gulfstream, could be Oaklawn, could be Fairgrounds, it could be Tampa. I've done things at many different tracks. I kind of pick, I can't do all 6 tracks, and I can't do every race at all 6 tracks. That would be impossible. But I try to do something on other tracks. I've even done a little bit of Turfway at night. I don't like doing out synthetic. Synthetic's tough, but there's prices. So
right.
If I find something that's interesting, I'll throw that up. So it just depends. Everybody that signs up, when I post, you get an email. So if I post something, if you're checking your emails, you get you know that there's something up there that I'm interested in. So that's how it works. You sign up, and every time I'm giving something out, you get an email. So if you're checking your emails, you sign up, you should be getting the information. Once you're on the site, you can interact with me. You can ask me a question. You can comment on my stuff right underneath it. It's a great site. My son built it, and it's very, very
looks great, very functional,
very easy to use. Yeah.
I've been impressed. Good shout out to Carson. All right, great stuff, Duke. We're going to do that on Thursday. Folks should go to dukespicks.com. Use that promo code ITM10 for a discount. We'll see each other there. I'll be back with something early week. I don't have any no specific plans yet, but there'll be more content here on the In the Money Media YouTube channel, which we encourage you to subscribe to, and also subscribe to the In the Money Players podcast wherever you get your pods, because sometimes we have audio stuff only, sometimes it's video only. Leave a comment too. Let us know what you think. What's your approach? What's one horse you're looking forward to betting in this Sunset Six? Oh, unscheduled question before we get out of here. Of what we talked about, does any horse strike you as worthy of a best bet, Duke?
Ooh,
I didn't prep you for that, and I just thought of it as we're going off air. So feel free to punt that one right back in my face. But
it might be Angelica Bay in the last. I think that horse is very interesting. The way that Doug O'Neill barn has been going. I hit a horse of his yesterday that I think I mentioned
the
earlier.
15-1 shot. Yeah.
I mean, he's going so good that. I think that is worthy of that horse could get overlooked too. I don't think that horse will be a very short price. I think that horse will get in the 6-1 range, I would think. So best bet wise, I think that's it. They're going back through the, because the other ones are favorites. I don't like giving best bets as favorites. Like Expensive Queen, I think is a very good play at Gulfstream, but that's a favorite. American Pearl's a favorite, and Celebrity Warriors are favorites. So I don't like singling favorites, but in a pick 6, I think you have to use those horses just because they're the most likely winners. So best bet, I would go with the horse in the last at Santa Anita, the Doug O'Neill.
Thanks again one more time to you, Duke. Check us out on dukespicks.com. Promo code ITM10. Thanks to our friends at First Racing, especially Peter Rotundo, for all his support over the years, and especially this season as we continue to cover the Gulfstream Championship meet and the Santa Anita Winter Spring meet. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.